What happened to your child that made you feel like a failed parent? During my daughter Zara's freshman year of college, she came home one weekend with a brand new $3,000 camera and professional lighting. This was equipment we could never afford, so her mom and I hounded her for answers. "Oh, Professor Killian bought me this with equipment grants for his new mentorship program," she said with this cheery voice. My wife and I looked at each other and smiled. We were so proud that our daughter was achieving her dream. But then over the next few weeks, Zara started acting completely differently. She had this new confidence about her. She mentioned these exclusive weekend workshops and private studio sessions with Professor Killian. But what really caught our attention was that Zara, who had always been this casual jeans and t-shirt kind of girl, was suddenly wearing full makeup every day and these expensive tight dresses to classes. She was also staying out way later on weekends, claiming she was working on photography projects, but would get defensive when we asked to see any of her work. I started noticing she had designer handbags and jewelry that cost more than our mortgage payment. She even had thick stacks of cash that she couldn't really explain when we asked about them. During college events, I would casually mention to other parents how well Zara was doing in the photography program. Most parents hadn't heard of any special mentorship programs, but one parent whose daughter Indy had been in the same art program got this strange look on her face and completely changed the subject. When I pressed her about it, she reluctantly told me that Indy had transferred schools suddenly last year for personal reasons. Something about the way she said it made my stomach turn. One Thursday, I decided to surprise Zara with lunch. I drove to her dorm building, and as I was walking up to the entrance, I saw Professor Killian leaving the building. His hair was completely disheveled and his clothes were wrinkled. He was looking around nervously like he was worried someone might see him before getting in his car and speeding away. He didn't notice me standing there. I went up to Zara's room and knocked on the door. When she opened it, she was wearing nothing but a silk robe at 2 p.m., and her hair was wet like she had just showered. I could see photos scattered all over her desk, and they were artistic nude shots. I recognized Zara as the subject in every single one. There were also shipping labels addressed to private collectors and invoices showing sales for thousands of dollars. When I confronted Zara about what I had seen, she became incredibly defensive. "It's legitimate art sales, Dad. Professor Killian says collectors pay premium prices for emerging talent like me." She insisted this was completely normal in the art world, and that I didn't understand how the industry worked. I contacted Indy's parent and asked her directly what had happened with her daughter. She broke down crying and told me the devastating truth. Professor Killian had been exploiting Indy the exact same way. I knew I needed to help Zara understand she was being exploited and manipulated just like Indy had been. I sat Zara down and presented all the evidence about Indy's situation and Killian targeting vulnerable students. I showed her documentation about other girls who had been targeted and exploited. Zara became even more defensive and insisted her relationship with Killian was different and legitimate. She refused to believe Killian would exploit her the same way he had exploited all these other students. "He cares about my career, Dad. He's helping me build a real portfolio that will launch my professional life." As I showed her more and more evidence, she started breaking down, but still denied the reality of what was happening to her. She was sobbing, but still defending him and insisting I was wrong. Finally, she stormed off to her room and slammed the door so hard it shook the entire house. She was angrily rejecting everything I had told her. Hours passed and the house was completely silent. I was sitting in the kitchen with my wife, not knowing what our next move should be. We felt completely helpless. Then we heard Zara's bedroom door slowly open. She came out looking completely broken. Her face was red and swollen from hours of crying. She sat down at the kitchen table and could barely look at either of us. She told us that once she was alone, she started really thinking about all the red flags she had been ignoring for months. She went through her phone and reread all of Killian's messages with fresh perspective. She could finally see all the manipulation tactics he had been using on her. She remembered other girls who had suddenly left the program and realized there was a clear pattern of exploitation. "You were right about everything, Dad," she said through tears. "He's been grooming me this whole time and I was too stupid to see it." Then she looked up at us with this expression I will never forget as long as I live. Her face went completely white, but there's something else, something so much worse. Her voice was shaking uncontrollably. "I'm pregnant, and it's his baby." Full story on channel linked below.